NTA, you can't beat the reach.
Was there any time Nigeria was not Nigeria?
At that time, by the 1950s, principles mattered. But today, it is not principle, opportunism.
I was part of the first set of Nigerian cadets that started the Nigerian Navy.
You cannot say you love God if you don't love your country.
Which one did I prefer at that time? And I said, the one that called me evil genius. You are evil, you are a genius.
Once you've laid the right foundation at primary school, the sky is the limit.
I don't say you should knock off where you come from, because that's really what helps to mold you into what you are.
When I became president, it was estimated that 60% of our people were living below the poverty data.
Taxation, that depressing but constant reality on the minds of everyone.
On a particular spot might turn out to be a breeding ground for mosquitoes.
Surprise, surprise. No, it's not Fatima, but it's still News Extra, your Wednesday night show that gives you that extra touch to the stories trending. Tonight, we start with sharing news about the ongoing success story of power generation as government takes a major step on the Mambila hydropower project. We will stay with some more good news from the sports world, specifically basketball. Thereafter, it's a galore of stories from the environment, health, politics, women empowerment, and agriculture. Hajj rites just began this Wednesday in Saudi Arabia. There are updates on this and also on how Nigerian pilgrims are faring. Okay, let me not bore you. Just sit back and enjoy the news with the extra torch. I am Sheung Olagunju, your guide for tonight. The much talked about Mambila hydropower plant, designed to generate 3,050 megawatts, has finally become a reality as the Federal Executive Council at its Wednesday meeting approved the award of the contract to a joint venture of Chinese engineering company for 5.792 billion naira. Gideon Ifadi reports.
It is on record that Nigerians have been talking about the Mambila hydropower project since 1972. The Buhari administration has again scored another point in its agenda by being the one to append its signature for its construction. The scope of works are very extensive, Minister Babatunde Fashola explains. It would require the construction of 4 dams, one of which is 150 meters in height. 2 are 70 meters in height, and the smallest would be 50 meters high.
It includes 700 kilometers of transmission lines. It will be in Taraba State, in the area called Gembu. It would involve a lot of preparatory work, resettlement, and all of that. So it will really unleash the potentials that have been reported about Mambila for agri, for tourism, and also for energy. It will also help Nigeria strike a very, very big blow on the climate change issues and fulfill its commitment under the Paris Agreement, because this is going to be renewable energy coming also at relatively competitive costs.
Completion of the project is expected to take about 6 years. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
It's been a long-standing dream and expectation as the 3,050 megawatts proposed Mambila hydropower project had been on the drawing board. Exemplifying its political will, the coast is now clear for the commencement of a project touted to have an impressive multiplier effect on Nigeria's economy. Hamza Musa Makalfi reports.
This is the site of the proposed hydropower project in its pristine characteristics during a visit in May. The volume of water could be higher now, and when men and machines go to work, it will be making the highest contribution of more than 3,000 megawatts from one single spot. A road network is expected to be constructed in order to reach the site through the difficult terrain of the area and compensation issues settled. The people of the area are in tune with the aspiration of the government on actualizing the project.
A lot of money has been spent, about I think 14 billion naira over the years, and nothing to show for it. But by the grace of God, the advent of President Muhammadu Buhari to the scene, and then looking at power as one of the most critical infrastructure that this Nigeria will require for its developmental projects in all its ramifications in this country. Mambila Hydro become, a darling project
if this project is completed. And I believe with the commitment of President Buhari and his team, this project will be a reality by the grace of God.
Findings show the sum of more than $6 billion is expected to fund the project. It will be recalled President Muhammadu Buhari, during state visit to the People's Republic of China, secured commitments to bring the project back to the drawing board. In Abuja, Hamza Musa Makalfi, NTA News.
Now, after more than 40 years on the drawing board, the Federal Executive Council Wednesday approved the award of the 3,050 megawatts Mambila hydroelectric power project to a consortium of Chinese companies. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the project will chart a new course of prosperity in Taraba, the Northeast, and the entire country.
The project, which reflects President Muhammadu Buhari's strong commitment to the infrastructure development of the country, will cost over $5.7 billion, inclusive of taxes, environment utilization, works, as well as land acquisition and compensation to about 10,000 people who will be resettled. This is coming on the heels of the successful prosecution of the costly war against terrorism and economic sabotage, including others that will change the face of the country's railways, roads, airports, housing, and agriculture. The major breakthrough in the execution of the project was achieved when President Buhari initiated discussions at the level of the President of the People's Republic of China in the course of his state visit to that country, proposing the use of Chinese contractors in a bilateral agreement between the two governments. A joint venture partnership of CGCC, Sino Hydro, and CGCOC, under the guidance of the Chinese authorities, will handle the project. Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says the project will have a transformational effect on all of Nigeria's socio-economic development.
And joining me to x-ray this important step on the Mambila Power Project is Ayo Oyalowo. He is a public affairs analyst. Thanks for joining us on the Network News, Ayo.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
What exactly is the import of this development on Nigerians and the economy?
First and foremost, it's a very laudable project. We must give kudos to the federal government led by President Muhammadu Buhari The import is not far-fetched, first and foremost. Knowing that it's a renewable energy transaction, it means, first and foremost, we're not going to be impacting the environment negatively, knowing the problems the world is facing with climate change. I'm sure you have seen the pictures from Texas, from the ones from India and everywhere. So, one, it's a good thing on the climate. Secondly, economically, it will impact positively on Nigeria. One, you're going to be increasing our power generation. You're going to be creating a lot of jobs for people. It will also boost tourism potential of the Taraba, the Mambila Plateau. Already we know the potential of that plateau. But
yes, I was going to say, let's look at the benefits of the project to the immediate community at Mambila.
It's going to boost the tourism potential, I mean the ecotourism potential of the Mambila Plateau. It's about the most beautiful plateau in this area of Africa, and we have not tapped into that. So it's going to open up that place and make it really, really viable in terms of tourism, or let me say ecotourism.
We know how long this has been on the drawing board, about 40 years.
Since it's actually more than 40 years, 45, 1972.
So until now, that the government of the present day is taking interest in it. What does this tell you about this government's seriousness
to developing they're serious. As soon as money comes in, I mean, we all knew what happened when this government came in, a lot of financial challenges. And since most of it have been surmounted, you can see positive drive. And it's just 15% coming from Nigeria in terms of counterpart funding, which has been fully approved. So which means the Chinese company, I mean the Chinese people are bringing the remaining 5%. So it's a partnership between Nigeria and about 3 Chinese companies. So it's really, it shows the seriousness, the drive to change Nigeria for the better, because really you can't be static. So I like the fact that we're seeing serious things being done and not just announcement. You can see positive action. So which means when the president traveled to China sometimes last year, that people were asking so many questions, we now begin to see the dividend coming into play. And
finally, Nigeria can do with more electricity anyway.
Exactly. And for me, what even makes this better is the fact that it's on renewable energy. So it's not just giving energy per se, but you're actually being friendly to the environment. So you're not going to be making anything that will cause a negative impact on both the immediate environment and Nigeria in general. So it's a welcome development as far as I can see.
Thank you very much, Ayo.
Thank you very much.
Ayo Oyalowo, public affairs analyst, has joined me to talk about the award of the contract for the Mambila Power Project. Now to education. Consultation continues as Vice President Yemi Osinbajo joins the team working towards an end to the ongoing strike action by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, in Nigeria. Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, made this known while briefing the press after the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. State House correspondent Jude Unifadi reports.
Previous meetings between the Labour and Employment Ministry and the Academic Staff Union of Universities are yet to produce notable result. Minister Chris Ngige said the continued disruption to academic activities in the universities is a great concern to the federal government. At the Federal Executive Council meeting Wednesday, where the matter came up again, the council ordered further consultation to bring the crisis to an end.
So government is leaving no stone unturned to make sure that we reach a conclusive agreement with ASU so that they can go back to the classroom. This is the first national strike that this government is facing, and we want to discuss. At council today, the Vice President has taken over some of the aspect of the negotiation and discussion.
The council approved a memorandum by Minister Chris Ngige to improve safety in industries across the country.
We needed regulations that will flow out from this main law to enable us talk about the type of boilers and pressure vessels that will come into Nigeria, the standardization of their codes so that they can conform to the global best practices and the global code.
On national minimum wage, the minister said nominations of the private sector are still being awaited to form part of a committee which would look into the matter. Minister of Sports and Youth Development, Solomon Dalung, who at earlier presented the Afro basketball winning team to the president, said many athletes who had contested in other sports and won laurel for the country would also have their turn to meet the president in due course. Earlier, President Muhammadu Buhari was given a rousing welcome as the president walked into the council chambers to attend the Federal Executive Council meeting. There were prayers for the good health of the president and the nation. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Now to the good news in sports. President Muhammadu Buhari says he is convinced that the nation's sportsmen and women have the capacity to continue doing the nation proud in every competition they participate in across the globe. The president said this while receiving the national female basketballers, the Tigress, at the presidential villa, Abuja, and announced a cash reward of 1 million naira each to the players, which the president noted would spur them to winning more laurels for the nation. State House correspondent Jide Onifade has the details.
It is a moment of honor for the national female basketball team as the president receives the players at the council's chamber before the opening of the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. The Tigress, as called, has emerged victorious over Senegal in the 2017 FIBA Women's Afro Basketball Tournament in Mali and picked one of the 2 slots for Africa in the 2018 FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup Tournament in Spain. The president commended the team and the officials for this great performance.
And the officials will only be mindful of, other than the token, is that each of the players will be given 1 million naira. Each official 500,000 naira. So we thank the Minister of Finance to try and get this money wherever she can get it from. I thank you very much. And I had time to watch the television and the NTA, as I said, for the second time I could record. I had a program now, 24 hours NTA, and I saw some of your performances.
The team was led by Minister of Sports, Solomon Dalung.
Having realized the problems with the sector, we are determined to take steps that will restore the glory of sports in Nigeria.
This is going to motivate us more, to play as a team and work hard to make sure when we go to Spain next year, we come out with a lot of victories so we can come back home with something to show Nigeria.
True stakeholders, people who have passion for the game, were the ones that were put in positions to administer this game. So we knew how to go about it right from word go. And this is really the reason why we have this cup. So I can tell you that in our vision, we are going to continue the same way we have in terms of grassroots development of basketball in the country. And, it's our own national players who are living domestically in Nigeria that will bring back these laurels for us.
This is the 3rd time the female team is winning the cup. It had previously won it in 2003 and 2005. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Well, those new African champions, Nigeria's the Tigresses, won their Afrobasket title without losing a single game. The team also had an impressive record of 80.6 points per game. In this report, correspondent Dane Desani takes a look at Nigeria's road to victory.
That's a long 2, and he goes in off the glass.
2 years ago, Nigeria's women's national basketball team, the Tigresses, narrowly missed out in the final of the women's Afrobasket when they lost to the host country, Cameroon, by 1 point in the semi-final game. Unperturbed by this disappointment, the team regrouped for the 2017 edition in Mali, with most of the players in the 2015 squad making a return to the tournament. Playing in Group B, Nigeria started her campaign by defeating Mozambique 80-69 points. This was followed by 4 more impressive victories over Democratic Republic of Congo, Egypt, Guinea, and defending champions Senegal to finish as group leaders with a 5-0 record. The Nigerian girls took their West African counterpart Côte d'Ivoire to the cleaners by beating them 98-43 points in the quarter-final stage before pipping the host nation Mali 48-47 points in an intense nail-biting semi-final game. The much-awaited final saw the D Tigresses coming back from a 12-point deficit in the first quarter to defeat defending champions Senegal by 65 to 48 points.
Kalou got her fingertips to it though and forces the turnover, and the nice pass down the floor. Elonu puts it in free flow. Akantor, Elonu cutting away from her opposite number and laying it up and in. No doubt whatsoever that the best team by 17 points.
Yeah, I feel great. It's always a blessing to be able to come and represent your country. And for us to actually take home the cup this time around is just more than we could ask for. You know, I'm just extremely thankful to God.
We went 8-0, and to come home and bring Nigeria this cup means so much. And to be a part of it, for my family to be a part of it means so much.
Dende Sunny, NTA News.
So proud of you girls. Now to other stories. Nigeria has insisted that the challenges associated with the provision of water supply for domestic agriculture and other industrial purposes can better be addressed through African-based technology. Nigeria is therefore appealing to development partners to support African know-how in improving water supply and sanitation on the continent. Nigeria's stance was presented by the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, at the ongoing World Water Conference in Stockholm, Sweden. Musa Baba Aliyu has more.
The World Water Conference taking place here in Stockholm, Sweden, is looking at 3 issues relating to water supply, water and waste, reduction and reuse, as well as meeting the Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030. To meet these targets, therefore, countries are expected to spend over $150 billion annually.
We must make the investment on building the industrialization platform, building the manufacturing platform, developing the capacity, and supplying services to one another in an intra-Africa collaboration.
This may be out of the reach of many African countries, and that is why Nigeria stressed the need for upgrading and adoption of the indigenous technology and policy in meeting the set targets.
One of our major problems is financing all this water and wastewater infrastructure. So I hope all the technical people, especially within Africa, will rise up to find local technological solutions, that are sustainable and affordable.
Abundant water, but yet we live in scarcity. And the issue is, unless we collaborate, again, for others sit down together, discuss and resolve, we have no way out.
How best can we, united in our responsibilities?
The position of Nigeria was supported by South Africa, Tanzania, and Egypt. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, it has been estimated that over 40 billion hours are lost every year in search of water for domestic use. These lost hours, if converted into economic development, African economy would multiply in less than 2 years, experts say.
What is the scale of the problem?
From Stockholm in Sweden, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Buildings and other infrastructure are said to be major contributors to sustainable development. However, incessant building collapse in Nigeria over the years, with the attendant loss of lives and property, has continued to raise concern among the people, as they have done more harm than good. Adebola Brooksling Sunday takes a look at the inability of professionals in the building sector to proffer a lasting solution to the problem in the country.
Every day, new buildings like this springs up across the country, which no doubt is contributing to national development. However, records have shown that untested soil integrity, use of substandard building materials, employment of quacks instead of professionals for the job, and corruption have contributed immensely to most of the recorded building failures.
This can be dated back to the first occurrence in Mokola, Oyo State in 1974 with a 2-story building, and up to date, similar and even worse cases are being experienced. And the most recent is the collapse of a 3-story building in Ojo area of Lagos State. All these have claimed several lives.
In spite of repeated calls by victims, experts, and even other Nigerians, why is it it seems there is no end to this challenge?
Engage the right personnel
you will get the best result. Believe you me, we have been investigating. In many cases, 99% of the cases, you discover that professionals are not involved.
One of the reasons these professionals are gathered here is to find a way out. Of more concern is the lack of punishment for those responsible for the collapses.
There has to be somebody who will say, okay, look, let's take a decision, clean out the country of all defective buildings that have potentials for collapse.
When Nigerians want the shortest cut and want to spend less, what they get is what they have paid for.
And that is why we continue to educate our members with the trending developments.
The engineers also identified non-implementation of government policies. To many, these may just be excuses, as putting an end to this is the dream of all Nigerians. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Nigerian space engineers and scientists are currently leveraging on existing human capacity to design and configure instruments for space exploration. The management of the National Space Research and Development Agency, NASDA, recently presented locally made space instruments for ground-based space missions to the public. Science correspondent Kirian Umayo reports that the instruments, which have passed relevant tests, have been deployed to seek for space solutions to societal problems.
Few months ago, NASDA, in collaboration with the Federal University of Technology, Akure, launched a nano satellite, the Nigeria Education Sat-1, designed for teaching and learning. Currently, the research agency has successfully accomplished a ground receiving station, which has established contact with the satellite, determined its precise location in the orbit, and with the capacity to measure atmospheric density using orbital analysis. The nano satellite has lifespan of 12 months. The research agency has also designed a ground-based magnetometer used to monitor geomagnetic anomalies and now working towards development of its 3 dimensions to meet global magnetometer standards. Minister of Science and Technology Dr. Bonayano says Nigerian space engineers have the requisite knowledge required to make Nigeria the hub of space technology in Africa.
Many countries make so much money building satellites for other countries. We also want to benefit from that so that we can now build our own satellites for so many purposes.
The last 8 years, we've made tremendous effort in building capacity. Several of our satellites, we've had people trained on them.
Of significance is the designing of electronic system for prediction and mitigation of flooding in Nigeria. Now, here is the instrument. It is solar powered with a sensor buried 6 feet below the Earth's surface, and the function of the sensor is to transmit data into computer system or even GSM phones for analysis. It usually carries data on soil humidity and by extension the moisture content, and that way scientists can easily predict flooding. And they believe that if this can be replicated and installed in many parts of the country, especially flood-prone areas, it will be easy to detect flood before it occurs in Nigeria. Kirian Umayo, NTA News.
Now to security matters. Coordinated air and artillery bombardments being conducted by troops of Operation Lafia Dole are yielding results as a number of Boko Haram foot soldiers are abandoning the terrorist group to surrender to the troops. Theatre Commander Operation Lafia Dole Major General Ibrahim Atahiru stated this during a press briefing in Maiduguri. Maimuna Garba reports.
The theatre commander said major coordinated air and land operations were conducted to further degrade the Boko Haram terrorists, stressing that troops have intensified on fighting patrols, clearance, cordon and search operations. To this end, he said troops have intercepted fleeing terrorists attempting to seek refuge in IDP camps and other communities within the theatre.
A total of 82 Boko Haram terrorists were killed in combat. 630 settlements were cleared, while 468 persons were rescued and handed over to various internally displaced persons camps.
Major General Atahiru further disclosed that troops in their various clearance operations had encounter with terrorists at Bama, Mobar, Magumeri and Damboa axis, as well as other locations within the theater where they successfully neutralized many terrorists and recovered items, arms and ammunition. The press briefing is an indication of the commitment of the military in the fight against terrorism, which will hopefully be overcome soon. Meanwhile, British Secretaries of State for Foreign and Commonwealth have visited the headquarters of Theatre Command Operation Lafia Dole as part of move by the Europeans to support Nigeria in the counter-insurgency war. From the Military Command and Control Center, Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Nigerian military in the fight against terrorism has received several bashings over allegations of human rights violations. Correcting that impression is what the Nigerian Air Force seeks to achieve with its own legal team comprising personnel of the services as it holds the 2017 Legal Officers Conference. Defense correspondent Isaac Nkuma tells us more.
Lawyers to provide advice and guidance to commanders from tactical to strategic levels, especially as regards observance of human rights during military operations vis-a-vis laws of armed conflicts and rules of engagement, is the major focus of this legal conference, with theme enhancing the capability of Nigerian Air Force legal officers for optimal legal service delivery.
Besides issues of discipline for its officers, the 2017 Nigerian Air Force Legal Conference also seeks to address issues of allegations of human rights violations of civilians in the areas of operation and also that of the perceived enemy.
Issues of human rights violation are very serious issues for us as we conduct military operations in the northeast particularly, and indeed in other parts of the country. This is because we believe that it is counterproductive to violate human rights of the people that you are out to defend. It doesn't make sense.
I therefore urge the Director of Legal Services and all officers under the Directorate to take full advantage of the forum to address issues affecting the Nigerian Air Force in general and the Directorate in particular, with a view to enhancing the capacity of not just the legal officers, but also personnel entrusted with leadership positions of the Nigerian Air Force commands and units.
In stressing the need to respect and protect the fundamental human rights of the citizens, even in conflict areas such as the Northeast, how has the Air Force fared?
I think so far we are doing very well. I'm aware that we have a court martial that is going on now in the Northeast for one of our airmen that was alleged to have assaulted a woman, and that is the way to go. If we want the society or where we are fighting, the communities to really assist us, we must understand that we need to respect their rights, and that is the only way they can give us relevant intelligence for us to succeed in our fight.
The era of impunity during operations is gone and gone forever. And as a civilized institution, we abide by the dictates of the rules of the laws, international laws of conflict and international humanitarian laws.
Other organizations might have their mandate which tells them what to do, but the ICRC is neutral, impartial, and its main mandate is just to ensure that victims of armed conflict are well taken care of.
Finding lasting solutions to issues of human rights violations leveled against the Nigerian military is the expected outcome of the conference.
From the NAF headquarters, Abuja, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
Alleged kidnapper Chukwudumeme Onwamatike, popularly known as Evans, has pleaded guilty to conspiracy and kidnapping before Justice Hakim Oshodi of the Ikeja High Court in Lagos. Ken Ebeluge, who witnessed the proceedings today, reports that 5 other suspects were arraigned with Evans in court.
Arraigned alongside Uche Amadi, Ogechi Nwachukwu, Ukwechukwu Nwachukwu, Chikala, Ifeanyi and Victor Aduba on a 2-count charge of conspiracy and kidnapping. When the 2-count charges were read to the accused, Evans, Amadi and Nwachukwu pleaded guilty to the charges, while Uchechukwu, the only female defendant, Ifeanyi and Aduba pleaded not guilty to the offences. The Lagos State prosecution, led by the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice Adeniji Kazim, in the charge stated that the defendants committed the alleged offence between February 14th and April 12, 2017. He said the incident took place at 7:45 p.m. along Obokun Street, Ilupeju, Lagos. The Attorney General also stated that on April 12, Evans, alongside other 5 defendants, while armed with guns and other weapons, captured, detained, and collected a ransom of 223,000 euros from one Duro Donatus for his release. Before the adjournment, Justice Oshodi asked the Attorney General which choice of prison he wanted, and he said Kirikiri Maximum Security Prisons. Justice Akim Oshodi later adjourned the case to October 19th this year for trial. In Lagos, Ken Egbeluge, NTA News.
Just to remind you that you can watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. Coming up, group calls for easier process of recall to strengthen representative governance. This and more after the break.
From 1967 to 1970, Nigeria went through a horrifying civil war. It didn't matter who was wrong or right. Everybody suffered. Those who fought that war say it should never happen again.
So a lot of people will say, but you were leading the first one. Yes, I led the first one. I don't think a second one is necessary. We should have learned from that first one. Otherwise, the dead would have been to no avail, would all have been in vain.
The words of our elders are full of wisdom.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Some reunions are worth waiting for. Reconnect your old SIM and we'll give you 6,000 Naira airtime. Also enjoy 8 times bonus on every e-top-up recharge.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
Hey, now who they here? My name now Mr. Shortcut. I didn't mind my money. Now cheap one, I dey buy. Standard, we say. Now to buy cheap one. Hey, now one kind cable for my yard. A cheap building material where we take build my office. I think say I dey save money. Office building collapse and fire burn my house.
You don't see what happened to Mr. Shortcut? Well, Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON, don't ready for action and say enough of pain, loss and wastage. And if you see product where no dey correct, call the SON office way near you or SON help desk. Standards Organization of Nigeria, improving life through standards.
There is a reason Africa is called the new frontier. What was once potential is now an opportunity ready to be seized. Once revered for our resources, today's wealth lies in our people. People who build the cities that shape the future. People who know an idea in one place means business in another. A generation for whom technology means there are no borders, no boundaries. We are the new lions in a brave new world, kings of the urban jungle. And there's a bank that puts the world in our pocket and the future in our hands. UBA, Africa's global bank.
Availability. Check. Confidentiality. Check. Integrity. Check. Transformation in action. The 6 years of Governor Abdul Aziz Abubakar Yari in Zamfara State clearly manifest good governance and foresight. In fact, transforming the agrarian state to the promised land. Welcome to Zamfara, a state being governed by a visionary and dynamic leader whose magic finger is touching every aspect of human lives. No wonder Abdul Aziz Yari is being referred as agent of Buhari's change mantra. Yari is bringing development closer to the Zamfara people and the nation at large. Zamfara, the pride of the nation. This message is brought to you by Iowa Media Group.
The Petroleum Tankers Drivers of Nupeng, in collaboration with Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, hereby wish all Muslim faithfuls a happy Eid al-Kabir in the spirit of celebration. Obey all traffic rules and regulations to assist everyone reach their destination freely and safely. Use seat belts while driving and do not drive with worn-out or expired tires to avoid accident. Remember that consideration for other road users is a religious obligation which everyone must observe. In case of any emergency, please call 122. The two organizations wish you a happy Eid al-Kabir. This message is from the Petroleum Tankers Drivers of Nupeng.
Nigerian police now operates in the best international practices of policing? Do you know that the Nigerian police has been restructured to be more accountable and responsive to all your security challenges? Now, what the police demand from you is your trust, your collaborative efforts by providing necessary information about criminals and their activities in your neighborhood. Be vigilant. To achieve our creed as we promise, we shall police the country based on international core values of policing with integrity. We shall ensure that rule of law prevails in our actions and activities. We shall respect diversity, display courage, show compassion, and demonstrate professionalism. We shall operate within the principle of democratic policing. We shall shun corruption, and we shall make Nigeria safer and secured under the leadership of IGP Ibrahim Otum Idris.
Let the wind of change blowing across the country chase away crime for the benefit of our society. Yes, the Nigerian police says this change must come with peace and tranquility.
This message was brought to you by the Public Relations Department of the Nigerian Police Force.
You're watching News Extra on the NTA, and we thank you for staying with us. The management of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, will not relent until the organization returns to the days when professionalism was key. NTA's Director General, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, said this when he received a former Director General of the NTA, Dr. Tony Iradia, in his office. Olainka Ojo reports.
Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed described the visit of Dr. Tony Iradia as a morale booster. After over 9 years, the former Director General left NTA. He said this shows the belief he has in the present management team of the NTA. Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed promised that professionalism would not be compromised.
And what we are trying to do now, myself and members of management, is to return NTA to those glory days that remain a credit to the tenure of Dr. Iradia as Director General of NTA.
Saying that the reception and words used are testimonial above his PhD, former Director General NTA, Dr. Tony Iradia, noted that he is happy that some of those who were team players in his achievement when he was the Director General NTA are now in the Emir Affairs.
In the last 3-4 months, I've started seeing signs of some of these things I expected should be on NTA, and they are virtually coming back.
Dr. Tony Radia is the 8th Director General of the NTA. In Abuja, Olain Kauju, NTA News.
Now, the beauty of democracy is its principles of check and balances, and it is more beautiful also because those principles are not only the exclusive preserve of the institutions of democracy alone, but also the electorate who have the power to check the activities and excesses of those they elect into power, especially within the confines of the legislature. This power, which resides with the electorate, is generally referred to as the power of recall, which perhaps more often than not taken for granted without being put to use by those whose hands the power reside. Political correspondent Abdullahi Garba Breninkudi was at a roundtable that tries to bring to life the power of recall in Nigeria's democratic tenets.
Section 69 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, provides procedure for constituents to recall their elected representative for lacking in constitutional duties. There are 10 procedures of recall as stipulated in the Constitution, which include a written petition by constituents to INEC, verification of registered voters, referendum, with those in support of that recall to be in the majority of the registered voters. These form the bulk of the areas of focus at this roundtable. Participants are worried that recall has never been achieved in Nigeria's political history. Some of the impediments identified include lack of awareness, political interest, corruption, and personal vendetta on the part of the recall promoters.
And we must fight the battle to separate the process of recall from political interests that will not advance democracy in any way.
Civil society should be able to, if people are not performing in between elections, we should be able to instigate processes for recall.
And to many, there is need to review the cumbersome nature of the process and ensure more advocacy.
Citizens must begin to make that demand, that there is a need to, first and foremost, remove the encumbrance that we are told have been put on the way of recall.
We want this recall to be used for what it is put for good governance, for accountable quality representation.
This is required.
As we come out from this roundtable, the key issue is that for people to realize that just as election is important, so also the application of instruments of accountability, maybe by applying this constitutional provision of recall to ensure good governance and good representation. In Abuja, Abdullahi Garba Breninkudi, NTA News.
The celebration is still on as lovers and supporters of President Muhammadu Buhari took to the major streets of Gombe, Bauchi and Plateau states to celebrate the recovery and safe return of the president from his medical vacation in London. Momso Damien Dati compiled reports from those states.
In Bauchi State, it was a mega procession, colorful and festive, as various groups from the 20 local government areas of the state took to the major streets in celebration. Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad reports that it was the second time such an event would hold in support of the president.
It's for development in crime.
This is a shared love by the people of Bauchi State.
From Gombe, Zara Umar Adamu reports that the rally started with special prayers by the two major religions, thanking God for President Buhari's recovery and seeking divine wisdom for him to continue the war against corruption. In Jos, there was a large turnout of supporters from various groups under the Buhari campaign group, who started with a roadwork from the polo roundabout to the Plateau State Government House, jubilating over Buhari's return. Abdul Babakatun reports that the rally was in solidarity to the anti-corruption crusade.
Buhari, even at this age, is the only president that has the heart to face any criminal who has stolen every money.
Since the creation of Ebonyi State in 1996, one of the major challenges confronting it is the obnoxious cultural practices of female genital mutilation. In this report, our correspondent Chinaza John tells us efforts made to eradicate the practice in the state.
Female genital mutilation involves the partial or total removal of the external female genitalia for non-medical reasons. Perpetrators of this act indulge in it because of the superstitious belief that it prevents promiscuity and stillbirth. For medical experts, these beliefs are unfounded.
But all these are lies, because the act itself is fraught with danger. The people that perform female genital mutilation are not trained surgeons.
Statistics reveal that Nigeria is third in the world with the highest burden of this menace, with Ebonyi State ranking second in the country by 74% in 2013 and first in the southeast. This perhaps accounts for the relaunch of the campaign against this menace by the wife of the state governor, Mrs. Rachel Omahi.
With the awareness now and the fear that we have instigated in their minds, they are no more doing that.
Recently, the wife of the governor sponsored a bill at the State House of Assembly domesticating the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law of the federal government, which, among other things, specifies a 4-year jail term or a fine of 200,000 naira for perpetrators. So far, this aggressive campaign has led to a public declaration prohibiting the act in endemic areas.
We have today expunged and outlawed the practice of the female genital mutilation and practice from the culture of the legal.
It is therefore a clarion call for all stakeholders at all levels to join hands so that this act will be eradicated totally. In Abakaliki, Chinaza John, NTA News.
Still talking women's health, research shows that although anyone who is sexually active can contract the human papilloma virus, men are carriers of the virus, but those really worst hit by the health conditions that come with it are women. The vaccine against the virus is said to be of optimal effect if administered on young girls as from age 9 or before they become sexually active. In this report, health correspondent Rabi Abdallah gives us an insight into the human papilloma virus, its link with several cancers, and prevention.
Human papillomavirus, HPV, is said to be one of the common causes of sexually transmitted diseases amongst men and women around the world. This virus is responsible for up to 99% of cervical cancer amongst women.
Women that also take pleasure in sharing the underwears, they are predisposed to catching the HPV.
In spite of the availability of the human papillomavirus vaccine, popularly known as the HPV vaccine, which though available but not affordable in the country.
Most important is that you produce local vaccines to meet the type of viruses that you have on ground.
This group of health professionals, known as histopathologists and scientists, are very concerned about the human papillomavirus and its effect on women in the country.
As a histopathology scientist, what we do primarily in the lab is to test tissue to make diagnosis of cancer.
Other ways through which the virus can be spread and what Chisom Ofo has to say from the perspective of an expert on a woman should interest you.
Chemicals can be a source for cervical cancer, so being conscious of that area to be clean, most often we introduce soap and many people even dodge. Naturally, the system cleanses the body on its own. So we advise women to use mild soap.
The Minister of Health agreed at the World General Assembly that took place some few months ago in Geneva that Nigeria will provide free testing at the primary health care centers for cervical cancer, for HPV, and at the same time, use that opportunity to immunize.
In a chat with some women on cervical screening culture, some felt they are not at risk. Some are not aware of the availability of the service in hospitals, while others are not just comfortable exposing themselves to male doctors.
I do yearly.
The question is, have you gone for a pap smear which is considered a major component of healthy living, especially when it comes to keeping cervical cancer at bay. In Abuja, this is Rabi Abdallah, NTA News.
Time to take another break. When we return, we will be talking business and more. Stay with us.
Any locations competition is in? Who knows?
6 in Lagos, 8 in Abuja, and opening another in about next week.
Who's the guy?
No, man. Moses was at Chelsea. Then he went to Liverpool. But before that, he was at
Crystal Palace 2007. Joined Chelsea 2012. 42 career goals.
This coffee is nice. I wonder where it's from.
This blend is actually from Brazil. However, coffee originated in Ethiopia in the 13th century.
Wow. Connect from any network with Glow MiFi. Share and enjoy 4G data speeds on any 2G or 3G device nationwide.
Flavor.
Real name is Chinedu Okoli, born 1983.
Chinedu.
The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
The family of Okon has been taken hostage by an evil-looking creature.
See, just show for night. Yeah, big.
Come in. My sister, I was there what was happening in the news. We must suddenly brought back your family.
You think you can freeze them? No way!
When Amatem Fort appear, malaria run for cover. Amatem Fort against some gel capsules, tablets for adult, and suspension for Pekin. Amatem does not eat somebody and are very easy to use. Aywa, remember how Amatem Fort against scratch pig to confirm the original and against some gel capsules. Amatem, say no to malaria, yes to life.
Success. I always wanted to make something of myself. Even when I was a child. With So Clean, my mother made sure that my clothes were clean and bright. With a 30% concentrated formula, washing is faster, brighter, and cleaner. Like millions of families, mine also trust So Clean. With my clothes and with my career. Because when all eyes are on you, you have to look the part. So Clean. It's your time to shine.
So Clean. Now with a new look and stain magnet technology for even better stain removal.
Best concert of your life? Don't just stay cool, stay refreshed with an ice-cold Coca-Cola. Pick your lane, solo or bigger boy.
Taste the feeling.
Welcome to the new world of superb taste. Now here in Nigeria.
Everyone, try it and enjoy the delicious goodness.
We are bringing our new noodles to every corner of the country. That's right. It tastes great. It tastes fantastic. It's time for a new noodle.
Nigeria, you want the truly delicious taste? Come and get it! Be supreme, Nigeria.
Happier by Chivita. Burst of refreshment.
House of Chi.
Want to buy Indomie noodles? So fast, please.
Yo.
This is not my Indomie. Please, sir, it's not Indomie. Don't call it Indomie. Sir, the taste is the difference. The difference is in the taste. That's why my brothers, my mommy, my daddy, and I all enjoy our delicious, so very delicious Indomie noodles. The difference is the taste.
Taste is the difference.
Yes, difference is in the taste. Nothing tastes like my Indomie.
Indomie noodles, tasty nutrition, good for you.
Glad you're still with us on NTA News Extra. And like we promised, time to talk business. Non-compliance with corporate governance identified as reasons for failed businesses in Nigeria as Muslims storm the ram and rice markets in preparation for the Eid Kabir celebration. Amechi Pius has the details on our business news segment.
Hello and welcome to Business News. With just a day to the Eid Kabir celebration, Muslims in the country are making last-minute purchases at the ram markets. NTA Business News investigations at this ram market in Lagos revealed that prices of the livestock increased slightly this year when compared with what was recorded the previous year. The ram, depending on its size, goes for between 30 and 100,000 naira. Sellers who decried low patronage attributed the increase in price to high cost of transportation and deplorable state of the roads.
We have a lot of losses, you understand? So, but compared to last year, there's a little bit higher, the price is higher than last year, and the patronage is low.
I think there's a slight difference, just a little different with the price of last year around this year.
The price of rice at most markets visited also shot up slightly. While the various imported brands sells for between 15 and 18,000 naira per bag, prices of the local brands were on the high side, selling for between 15 and 20,000 naira per bag. However, Lake rice still sells at 12,000 naira per bag. There is a compelling need for Nigerians to adhere strictly to the ideals of corporate governance to stem the tide of poorly performing and failed businesses in the country. The president of the Nigerian Institute of Management, NIM Emeritus Professor Munzali Jibril, gave this advice in an interview with NTA Business News in Lagos. He said this has become imperative to prevent corporate failures and fraud both in public and private organizations.
Human beings are normally greedy. Corporate governance says, okay, let us put a check on your greed. Let us separate what is personal from the official, so that you don't run the organization in your own self-interest. Simple. So if you can achieve a situation whereby people in leadership positions run the organizations, take decisions which are in the interest of those organizations rather than in their own personal interest, the problem is solved.
He advocated a well-motivated workforce, the development and adoption of an effective framework, as well as the implementation of appropriate sanctions as a panacea for corporate ills. And here are details of midweek trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange today.
The all-share index finished at 35,629.13. Market capitalization was 12.28 trillion naira. Investors committed 2.9 billion naira to more than 239.9 million shares.
And that's business news. Thanks for watching.
And thanks, Amechi. The Nigerian Navy has impounded 2 tanker vessels and 4 fishing trawlers in Lagos. The flag officer commanding Rear Admiral Sylvanus Abba disclosed this while briefing newsmen and handing them over to the Federal Government Department of Fisheries and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Imole Ayo Tokede has the details.
Tanker vessels and 4 fishing trawlers were intercepted by officials of the Nigerian Navy on routine patrol in Lagos. The 2 tanker vessels, MT Darkris and MV Sisi Comfort 1, were said to be operating with invalid documents and had about 34,000 litres of petroleum.
About 23:30 hours, it was observed that the ship's AIS, that is Automatic Identification System, was found to be constantly off, constituting a navigational and safety offense.
The 4 fishing trawlers with 79 crew members were caught fishing in prohibited areas. 28 members of the crew were Chinese, 3 Ghanaians, and 48 Nigerians.
Efforts were made to contact the Federal Department of Fisheries. Further investigation revealed that the vessel was permitted to fish only within the EEZ. That is exclusive economic zone, but these 4 vessels were arrested in our inshore waters. That is less than 30 nautical miles to the shore. These are clear indications that the vessels were engaged in illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing activities in our waters.
The suspects are to be arraigned in court. In Lagos, Imole Ayo Tokede, NTA News.
The employment and cement needs of Nigerians are being increasingly addressed through private sector initiatives, with the inauguration of the BUA's Obo Greenfield Cement Plant at Okpela, Edo State, with a production capacity of 3 million metric tons of cement per annum. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who inaugurated the multi-billionaire plant, pledged that the federal government would remove all human inhibitions to encourage the investors. David Aire reports that the company is set to commence a second line of another 3 million metric tons.
Cement factory, Okpela, Vice President Osinbajo said the 3 million metric tons plant is a clear commitment of government's public-private partnership, which has created brighter opportunities for job creation and industrial development.
We are completing another greenfield project in Sokoto, which is 1.5 million tons per annum, which costs over $300 million. And by the time we are done, the combined capacities of our cement plants, both in Edo and in Sokoto, will be in the region of about 8 million tons.
In AUG, Edo State, David Aire, NTA News.
Rice farmers in Wushishi local government area of Niger State are smiling to the bank, with increment in yield per hectare rising from between 1 to 2 metric tons to up to 6 to 7 metric tons. The cluster farmers, who described their 2017 harvest as bumper, attributes it to interventions received from the federal government. Rose Gia reports.
17 rice-producing communities in Wushishi local government area of Niger State are engaged in boosting the tonnage of rice in Nigeria, all with a view to bringing about self-sufficiency and stemming the rates of importation. The rice farmers in these communities for 3 decades have been utilizing the about 900 hectares of arable land under the Tungankawo Dam irrigation services. But in the first 2 decades, yield per hectare remained below 3 metric tons due to lack of modern farming techniques and support, even with the all-year-round farming. Even though Niger State emerged and remained a major contributor to agricultural productivity and the 3rd largest producer of rice in Nigeria, several challenges impede rice farming.
The assistance our farmers get from the federal government at times it do come lately.
We need the federal government to assist us to reinvent the canals and the feeder roads.
With a policy shift in the last 10 years towards increased local production and interventions from the federal government, such as Market 2 in 2007, Fadama in 2010, and IFAD in 2014, the yield per hectare has improved.
When the federal government intervened through the VCDP, that is Value Chain Development Program, and Fadama, they're able to impact knowledge on them to make sure they have the plan what they should take agriculture as a business.
The federal government's renewed effort at transforming the agricultural sector with a view to creating job opportunities and for self-sufficiency is yielding results in Niger State, particularly in Wushishi local government area. In the past years, a hectare of land produced 1 to 2 metric tons, but today they get 6 to 7 metric tons per hectare.
This renewed effort became manifest in the last 2 years with the coming of the present administration, which has put agriculture on its front burner. The tonnage expectation from rice producers in Niger State in 2017 is put at over 53,000 metric tons, following government commitment to the Anchor Borrowers Program and distribution of motorcycles to agric extension workers mobilized to educate farmers on modern techniques.
I assure you, I will be able to raise from 7 to 8 metric tons per hectare.
We Wushishi farmers, with the help of intervention of the federal government, we can be able to feed the nation.
Rice farmers in Wushishi local government area, though yet to benefit from the Anchor Borrowers Program, are optimistic that if given all desired support, they are able to feed the state and beyond, with expected tonnage for 2017 yield put at about 17,000 metric tons. Rose Gia, NTA News.
Up ahead, 2017 Hajj will bring you up to speed on what's going on. Don't go away.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Bayes University Abuja offers world-class education, uninterrupted academic session, and promising degrees. Bayes University Abuja is affordable and delivers quality with experienced international staff, superb facilities, overseas external examiners, and a serene academic atmosphere. We offer quality and affordable education, and students are within easy reach of their parents here at Bayes University Abuja. So learn to live at Bayes University for a brighter future. For more information, visit our website at www.bayesuniversity.edu.ng or call 081 3376 9657 or 081 3376 9658. Bayes University Abuja. Learn to live.
You're welcome back. Now, more than 2 million Muslims began the annual pilgrimage today in Saudi Arabia. The movement to the Mina camp on the outskirts of Mecca, which began last Tuesday night, has seen pilgrims be moved in buses all night. Nigerian pilgrims are already settling down at the camp ahead of the Arafat. Our correspondent Ahmad Ambali gives us an update from the Mina camp.
First day is the first day of the commencement of the 2017 Hajj, and we are here at the Mina camp where Nigerian pilgrims are joining the rest of the body of pilgrims the world over in observing this year's Hajj. It's a very, very massive place. You can see the tents, they run and extend for kilometers on end. The pilgrims are here, some of them just arriving, others arrived earlier on. And the atmosphere is one you would expect for people who have come here to participate in the annual religious exercise. We've gone around some of the tents. The pilgrims are settling down. The facilities are also in place to ensure that for the next 4 to 5 days when they will be here, they are as comfortable as possible. Earlier on, I spoke to some of their pilgrims and they shared with us their thoughts about being here and how much they're looking forward to the day of the Arafah.
We are here to serve Allah. We are not here for comfortable or convenience. We are here, anything we get here, we'll manage it. It's part of the Hajj.
Feeling and other responsibilities is very quite all right. And we thank Allah Almighty. What we expect is even more than what we met over there.
I'm highly impressed of the arrangement of NACON because they have tried as much as possible to see that all of us are compatible.
Well, there you've heard from some of our pilgrims telling us about the facilities provided on ground. You can see more and more Nigerian pilgrims in the picture there. They are going in to find where their accommodation is and to settle in. It's really, really sunny here, so the advice is that you try to stay indoors, drink lots of water, and keep yourself ready for the big day ahead. That's the situation here from the Mina camp in Mecca. It's back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Ahmad. Now, the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, under the leadership of its President General and Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar III, congratulates Nigerian Muslims and the entire Muslim world on the auspicious occasion of the 1438 AH Eid-Kabir celebrations. A statement signed by the Deputy Secretary General, Professor Salisu Shehu, says, the Sultan noted that this year's Eid is significant because there will be 3 sermons within the span of 2 days. The khutbah of Arafat on Thursday 9th of Zulhijjah, August 31st, 2017, and the khutbah of Eid and Jummah on Friday 10th, Zulhijjah, September 1st, 2017, adding that these are great days that every Muslim should reflect on and use the rare opportunities and virtues they present to invoke the mercy of Allah and His blessings. The Sultan further added that according to the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, Muslims who are not on pilgrimage are enjoined to fast on the day of Arafat and engage themselves in acts of worship and with the conviction that Allah will forgive their sins. He also urged all Nigerian Muslims to continue to be good ambassadors of Islam, promote and embrace peace, justice and righteousness, which are the hallmarks of the religion. The council also prayed God to restore peace and stability to all the troubled parts of the country and the entire world. And as Muslims on pilgrimage and back home prepare for this year's Eid al-Kabir celebrations, the sacrifice of animal, preferably a ram, is central. Ismail Musa in the next report takes us through the guidelines for this important act.
Eid al-Adha is globally marked on the 10th of Zulhijjah, and the central feature of this Islamic festive period is the sacrifice of animal. Though Islamically ram is preferred, Islamic scholars say cow, goat and camel are among animals prescribed for this sacrifice.
The animals that are suitable for sacrifice, one, it must reach the age, that is for sheep, minimum of 6 months and 1 year, and for goat, let it be 1 year, it will not be less than that, and for cow, let it be 2 years, and for camel, let it be 5 years and above. A one-eye animal cannot serve as the animal to do sacrifice with, and or the one having one leg, or that is not the way you can see, it's not that word fit, it has no any fat in it, or it is sick physically, so it cannot do. And it has to be your property. Don't go and have it and have a stolen property and do sacrifice with it.
Considering the highlighted benefits of this sacrifice, who is eligible to perform this sacrifice?
The first person that we must consider, that person has to be a Muslim. Secondly, he or she must be a free person. That is, it shouldn't be a slave cannot slaughter a ram. The third person is the person that has the means. If you don't have a means, you cannot go and borrow money to slaughter a ram. If you do that, it's no more sacrifice again. Allah will not even accept it from you.
What is the position of Islam on what should be done with the meat after the sacrifice?
Well, Islamically, if you slaughter an animal, it is a duty to divide it into 3. 1 for you and members of your family, and the remaining 2 then to the needy and those who cannot be able to buy it at all, so that they will feel rejoiced the way you are rejoicing on that very day. So you cannot slaughter the ram and keep it within yourself and say you want to eat the whole thing.
You will not get the blessings.
You will not get the blessings. And that is the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad.
Aside the merriment that accompany this celebration, are there lessons attached to the sacrifice or the festive period?
One of the lessons that we derive from this scenario is that when you are calling upon Allah, you should have rest assured that Allah will answer you. Another lesson that we can learn from this is that we should be thanking Almighty Allah at all times.
Many thanks for the insights, Ismail. Well, so far, so good, I believe. But don't take off just yet. We have just one more segment to go. See you there.
The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, is working to ensure access to safe, good quality essential medicines with the World Health Organization pre-qualification of made in Nigeria pharmaceutical products, stiffer penalties for fake drug offenders with a review of NAFDAC laws, national, regional, and international collaborations, cutting-edge technologies, including the mobile authentication service.
NAFDAC as an agency is indeed doing so much
to protect the health of our nation. I urge everyone to support NAFDAC in ridding the country of fake drugs and unwholesome products.
Let us support NAFDAC to win the war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
You're welcome back to The Last Lap. Now, it is a common saying that no nation develops without the contribution of the female gender. Furthermore, some schools of thought say the development of women and children are among indices to measure a nation's growth. Government, it seems, is not unmindful of these and has rightfully too put in place programs for women empowerment. There are, however, worries over setbacks from expected beneficiaries of these government programs to alleviate poverty amongst women, especially those at the grassroots. Talatu Izirike takes up the story.
Nigerian women, dogged and resilient, constitute almost 50% of the nation's population, but their proportion in the formal sector is very minimal. According to statistics, 68% of women are mostly engaged in the informal sector, which includes farming and petty trading. In spite of their daily struggle against all odds to make ends meet, the financial income often do not measure up, especially with prevailing socio-economic challenges.
In an environment like this, if women are empowered, definitely it will change the society itself.
And the government will support our mother and our father for in terms of financial aspect.
This standpoint is corroborated by 27-year-old Ruth Abubakar, a mother of two.
The environment now is not easy to get it, so we want government to help us.
It is in the bid to raise the standard of living of Nigerians, especially women, that the present government put in place the Social Investment Program. One component of the program is the National Women Empowerment Fund.
The overall objective of the NAWEF program is to provide access to financial services for women involved in micro and small-scale enterprise to scale up their businesses. The program is also a revolving loan facility that is interest-free and no collateral needed.
The scheme started with 8 pilot states, for which 80,000 women are to benefit from, with simplified conditions. Naturally, women are expected to jump at the offer. But the opposite is the case, as only 25,700 of them are said to have submitted their details.
The rural women, some of them don't even know about the bank accounts. Some of them thought that maybe for you to have an account in the bank, you must have, let's say, huge money. And for that reason, whenever they talk of account, they either use their brothers, their uncles, their husband, and whatever account that they can lay hands on. To alleviate all this problem, I believe that if bank itself, they should get to the rural area, open an account for women.
Suggestion no doubt well taken by the concerned bodies in their aggressive empowerment advocacy to achieve a wider coverage of states for the overall growth and development of the Nigerian women. Talatu Izirike, NTA News.
Still talking social investment, one of the major commitments of the Buhari-led administration is in poverty alleviation through its social investment programs. Reason for this, not far-fetched. Going by statistics, an estimated 110 million people are said to be poor, with about 30 million people living in extreme poverty situations. An alarming statistics, you will agree, but thankfully the government of Muhammadu Buhari has taken the bull by the horn to address hardships being by the most vulnerable, poor and the unemployed. X-raying the social investment program, discussants on NTA's current affairs program Tuesday Live say the intervention is yielding results. Here again is Talatu Izirike.
Call for employment, and one will be amazed at the turnout of applicants who are graduates. More worrisome is the statistics of people living in extreme poverty, put at about 30 million.
The situation the Buhari-led government is tackling head-on through its social investment program in building a vibrant nation.
poverty alleviation is okay. Nobody wants to be poor.
Analysts say there is sincerity of purpose in the implementation of the program that include the homegrown school feeding, the conditional cash transfer, and the N-Power that is yielding results.
With the N-Power, we actually pay them 30,000 every month. There's a visually impaired chap who applied and got selected. After just 5 months of payment, he's able to buy himself a computer, is what he said. And he's now translating science subjects into Braille. What is important for us is the monitoring and the feedback.
Now there's a very laudable program. There's already a bill before the House to form Poverty Alleviation Commission. The bill has passed second reading. We are going to look at forming institutions that will stand the test of time.
Beyond institutionalizing it, there's a need, for a latch on the private sector momentum so that you have a wider environment.
For others, there is the need to guide against dependency syndrome and encourage right synergy.
We need to have a very comprehensive approach in the laws. This is why it's also very useful, and I think Nigeria is fortunate that the very government that is initiating this social protection program is also the one that is notably fighting corruption. These two things go together.
If I want to build a sustainable system and I give input out, it is very possible that there will be issues of side selling when it comes time for me to collect the returns. Right. So I will not be able to recycle such cases.
Well, if the saying that a little drop of water makes an ocean is anything to go by, then Nigerians are in for better deals under the ongoing social investment program. And the general advice is for collective support in building a better Nigeria. Talat Ezerike, NTA News.
Let's now join Uche Nwizu for stories from other parts of the globe.
It's good to have you on this segment of the news. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Onyama, has described the decision of the U.S. to sell arms to Nigeria as a sign of confidence in the relationship between Nigeria and the U.S.
They've agreed to sell us, Super Tucanos, aircraft that would help us tremendously in the kind of battle that we're engaged in the northeast.
The UN Security Council has condemned North Korea's firing of a ballistic missile over Japan. The UN advised President Kim Jong-un to exercise restraint and abandon his nuclear weapons program.
North Korea has violated every single Security Council resolution and violated international law.
Meanwhile, North Korea said the missile launched on Tuesday was a direct response to ongoing American and South Korean military drills. Venezuela's Constituent Assembly has voted to put opposition leaders on trial for treason. The assembly said it would prosecute those it accuses of promoting U.S. economic sanctions against the country. This decision came after a new UN report revealed that there has been extensive human rights abuses as the government tries to crush anti-government protesters.
I will be urging the Human Rights Council to consider taking measures to try to prevent the human rights situation in Venezuela.
And a tropical storm Harvey has made a landfall in neighboring Louisiana after causing catastrophic flooding and devastation in Texas for the past days. The mayor of Houston has, however, imposed curfew to deter looters as rescue operations continue. That's our package on this segment. I am Uche Nwizu. The rest of the news continues shortly.
The death has occurred of Alhaji Muhammad Gidado, the Ubanduman Jamari. Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad reports that the deceased is the elder brother of the Deputy Governor of Bauchi State, Nuhu Gidado.
Aged 72, late Muhammad Gidado died in the early hours of today in Bauchi after a brief illness. A senior councillor in the Jama'ari Emirate Council, Muhammad Gidado was the first majority leader of the Bauchi State House of Assembly in the Second Republic. Having served in different capacities at both state and national levels, Until his death, he was a board member of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA.
He is the first son of late Wazirin Jama'ari, who died in 2012. After his death, Ubandoma took over the affairs of the family. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him Jannatul Firdaus.
A brother to the deputy governor of Bauchi State, late Muhammad Gidado is survived by 2 wives, 13 children, and 19 grandchildren, amongst other relatives. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has arrived his native home of Daura in Katsina State ahead of this year's Eid al-Kabir celebrations. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports on the excitement that greeted the homecoming of the Nigerian leader. We'll bring you the visuals of the report in our subsequent bulletins. And now a quick check on Thursday's weather forecast.
It's my pleasure to welcome you to the weather segment from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. We are in the peak of the rainy season and chances of rainfall activities are high, especially places around the northern cities. So people around that axis should be wary of the heavy to intense rainfall activities that will be witnessed around those axes. Cloudy conditions in the morning are probable over most cities within the country, with possibilities of thunderstorms over Nguru and Duse axis in the morning. The high ground areas of the central cities down to the southern half of the country should also witness isolated cases of thunderstorms and rains in the morning, while the afternoon into the evening period is more favorable for rainfall activities within the country. I leave you with the temperature details. Bye for now.
And that's NTA News Extra for tonight. We're glad you were with us all the way. I'm Sheung Olagunju. Have a good night.
Our programs are getting better and fresher. And it's because we are thinking about you. NTA, it's all about you.
This is the network service of the NTA.
This bill seeks to amend the long title of because we want to ensure that things are done right. Service of life. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The bill aims to reposition our tourism industry to benefit us economically.
Senate committee explores ways of making culture and tourism a source of revenue for the country.
We can make progress as a nation if only we remain united.
And senators lend their voices to the debate on national unity. Good evening. This is Inside the Senate. I am Binta Magaji. The Senate is on recess, but its committees are still working and tidying up loose ends to issues preparatory to resumption of plenary in September. One such committee is that on culture and tourism development. At its sitting last week, the committee considered how to develop the nation's tourism for economic advancement. Also on duty was the Committee on Customs investigating leakages in revenue accruable to the federal government. It has also been meeting with companies and updating the media on its sessions. We'll also bring you a report on the activities of the Committee on Health, which hosted some agencies under its purview. These are more coming your way shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. As I earlier mentioned, one of the committees on duty during the period of the recess is the Committee on Culture and Tourism, led by Senator Matthew Orogide. The committee, Tuesday, the 15th of August 2017, held a public hearing on the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2017. The bill, which aims at developing the nation's tourism sector to serve as a catalyst for socio-economic development, was sponsored by Senator Orogide and read a second time before the Senate went on recess. It was referred to the Culture and Tourism Committee for more input by stakeholders. Declaring the hearing open, Senate President Bukola Saraki, represented by the Deputy Senate Leader, Senator Bala Ibn Allah, said, though underutilized, the nation's tourism industry contributed 4.8% of Nigeria's gross domestic product, GDP, as well as providing employment to 1.6% of the population in 2016. He said these figures can grow if tourism potentials are properly harnessed.
The bill aims to reposition our tourism industry to benefit us economically, with little cost on the government. It encourages partnership with private investors who have interest in developing the nation's tourism sector. Private sector arguably are drivers of every country's economy, and in order to reduce financial burden on government, we will need employment, promote our cultural awareness while preserving our local culture and tradition, stimulate trade, income, and entrepreneurship, especially with SMEs, and also increase regional development.
Giving overview of the bill, the sponsor and committee chairman, Senator Matthew Orogide, said since its enactment in 1992 by the military, the bill has not gone through any form of amendment.
The Act, since its enactment, has not gone through any form of review or amendment, despite having passed through several years of socio-political and economic changes. The Act, like most laws made under the military regime, is characterized with so many inadequacies and shortcomings. The only law existing in Nigeria prior to this bill is the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation Act of 1992, which this bill seeks to repeal and enact. In addition, the subject matter of the bill is under the legislative purview of the National Assembly. Hence, the bill does not violate any existing law in Nigeria.
Stakeholders who made presentations expressed support for the amendment, but however, with observations and suggestions on some sections of the new bill.
We were fully in support of the repealing of the old bill and asking for an establishment of a new bill. Section 15D, that dwells on the administration of Tourism Development Fund, our suggestion is that it should be established as a separate entity and managed by an independent body, as is obtained, for instance, with the Industrial Training Fund, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, etc. The fund, in our suggestion, should be managed in collaboration with major stakeholders in the industry, in both public and private sector.
We are in full support of the repeal of this act of establishing this institution, given its very important function. Section 4 on membership of the board. We believe, since the bill is very specific about